Hey guys, how's it going? It's Alex of Coyote Star Astrology, and I just wanted to put up a quick video for you guys about some of the aspects that we have happening this week because we have a pretty intense week ahead of us. We had Mercury go retrograde today on the 31st at 27 degrees Scorpio, and along with the Pluto theme, we have Pluto about to square Mars. Every day between now and November 4th, we're kind of building up to this Pluto square Mars, and we're already feeling it. We had Jupiter conjunct the moon today. By the time you guys see this, it might be tomorrow, but October 31st, we had the moon conjunct Jupiter, which really was this kind of truth portal where many of us might have seen from a higher vantage point what this whole retrograde journey is going to be about for us. But let's pull up the chart and look at what we have going on briefly. So we had Mercury station retrograde at 27 degrees, and you can see that when Mercury stationed, it was right there with Venus. And Venus is coming up right now because during this retrograde cycle, Mercury is going to pass through the same degrees that Venus passed through in her retrograde cycle last fall. So you really want to be paying attention to see if things are repeating or if things are coming up, patterns from last year, especially things we don't necessarily want to look at because we're dealing with Scorpio, because this is indicative of some kind of lesson or karmic issue that was not closed last year. We didn't get it. We have to go back, repeat it in order to make perfectly sure what needs to change in order to evolve and move forward. So if you are encountering that, if you're encountering some kind of echoes from the past, this is why. And when we're dealing with Scorpio, we're dealing with the shadow. We're dealing with the skeletons of the closet. We're dealing with these shadows kind of being dragged out to the light. So a lot's coming up for people, and it does make us feel vulnerable, and it can feel like we want to hide aspects of the self when, of course, this whole transit, I feel, is really asking for radical emotional honesty, radical vulnerability, and an up-leveling in our ability to be vulnerable, authentic, real, and kind of expose a new aspect of ourselves. And this is happening for the collective. We have the Pluto polarity point in Cancer. We have the North Node in Cancer right now. So this is very much about dismantling the Capricorn tendency to hide behind a smile and hide behind this stoic mask, this kind of statuesque ability to hold in the emotions. And this is the breaking down of that. So you can be feeling a lot can be coming up right now. It can be a very emotional time, and it is this emotional purging. So the more you can honor that and release, the better. Lending to this Plutonian theme, we also have Pluto preparing to square Mars on November 4th, November 5th. So this is very much kind of like the second wave of some of the energies that we felt come in during the Scorpio new moon on October 27th. The reason that I say this is that on that Scorpio new moon, we had Saturn square Mars. When Saturn squared Mars, it was kind of like being in a pressure cooker. We definitely had some things come up. We might have had to face some circumstances in relationships, Mars and Libra. And now with Pluto preparing to square Mars over the next couple of days and squaring exact on November 4th, November 5th, this is when we're really going to see the evolution of these themes take place. This could be taking action. This can be having a conversation or seeing the evolution of the decisions that we've made, positively and negatively. So if we choose to respond in a new way that's positive, this could be seeing how that has had a transformative effect on our life. I like to think of this life experience kind of like a video game. We're given these same tests over and over and over again, and although the faces may change and the places may change, underlying it behind the veil, it's all really in many ways the same karmic tests again and again. So if we responded to these tests in a new way during this transit, we might see or we might sense this up-leveling or this making it to the next level of our evolution. Whereas if we responded poorly or if we fell back into an old pattern, we may then see how that is impacting our reality as well. And again, with this, all of the Scorpio energy, I think that a lot of this has to do with responding in a way that is authentic, not hiding in the shadows, not hiding our true selves, but exposing these weakened areas or these areas that we might be afraid to show to our partners, to our friends, whatever, and really as a collective coming into a place that's much more authentic. On October 31st, Thursday, to kind of help with this process, we had the moon conjunct Jupiter. And this definitely might have given us a blast of truth. Jupiter is the guru teacher, and conjunct the moon, we might have seen for a moment with like more clarity than we've had recently where we are, and kind of maybe seen the point of what this retrograde cycle is about. This retrograde cycle is definitely bringing up relationships because it retrograded there with Venus. And when Venus is in Scorpio, this is about these deep karmic soul contracts. This is about the twin flame thing. This is about soulmates. And not necessarily soulmates that we're currently with. This could be a relationship from the past and lessons coming up around that, especially wounding or things long buried. But it can definitely involve our current partnerships, and anyone can tell you that's in a deep cosmic soul bond with another human being. This is not just bringing up the positive, this is bringing up a lot of pain and a lot of shadow to then be alchemically transmuted through the magic of that union. So we can definitely see that coming up. This can be a time when both partners are going through a lot emotionally and having a lot come to the surface. So I think the best way to respond to this is to really hold space for one another and really greet the challenge that the collective is going through right now, which again is radical authenticity, vulnerability, and emotional honesty, and committing to doing the work, not denying it, not running from it, but really facing any cycles that are coming up and dedicating ourselves to looking beyond the circumstance, looking beyond the three-dimensional reality, and understanding that whatever it is, it's indicative of a deeper energetic and karmic lesson that is now asking for some kind of attention. I really like to think of Mercury retrograde cycles as kind of like a wave crashing with three distinct phases. We have the first phase where the water is pulling back. There's that kind of magnetic pull back. And then we have the second phase where the wave crests or it reaches its highest point. And then, of course, the crashing of the wave when the energy moves forward. We're in phase one right now. We've been in phase one for the last couple weeks. Mercury pre-shadows, so noticing what's been coming up over the last couple weeks, and especially today, the 31st, when Mercury went retrograde. And then we'll be moving into phase two, which will climax around the middle of this transit, around November 10th, November 11th, when the sun conjuncts Mercury, where the sun will shine its light in the shadows. We might see some kind of answer or illumination. And then, boom, Mercury will go direct. On the 20th, the wave crashes forward, and that will be the slingshot effect or pulling of the trigger of all of the things that have been in their more introspective, withdrawn phase of this transit. So, yes, Mercury retrograde, not exactly associated with clarity per se, but these retrograde transits do result in clarity after doing a bit of deep introspective work. So we're very much on the journey. It has begun, as I said, really fun to kind of look back at this time last year. All of these patterns are being brought up to show us where we need to respond in a different way, where we need to close something out or learn some kind of karmic lesson that's very important for our spiritual evolution. And the entire collective is going through this. You are not alone. Really hold space for one another right now because people are feeling very vulnerable and I think really afraid to be seen with their shadow selves intact. So the more that we can do that for one another, I think is the best way to respond to this process. All right, you guys, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and a share. If you want to reach out to me for a reading, I will put my website right here as well as down in the description box. We can pull up your chart during a reading and we can look at where Mercury is retrograding in your chart, see what planets it's making aspects to, which can kind of bring some clarity into what this whole journey is about for you over the next 3 weeks. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in about a week when we go over the full moon in Taurus. All right, guys, bye-bye.